Ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
And we're live?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. All right, everyone. I am very, very excited for this episode. And before I get into this, I just want to give a little quick context on how this actually got created. So the game that I like to play, and we had a couple of guests before on here as well, it's called the Steve Hardison game. And which, how did people meet from Steve Hardison recommended introductions? So for me personally, I was talking to Steve Hardison about wanting to step myself out there, wanting to help serve more people, but actually getting the cojones, the balls to actually step in and have more power and more courage to actually do it. So then Steve Hardison does what Steve Hardison does, give you a simple yet profound answer. He was like, just do it. But then he said, I recommend you reaching out to Laban. And that's all he said. They didn't tell me why, but I was like, okay, I'll do it. So then synchronistically, when I logged onto the group that we're all a part of, the Ultimate Coach group, Laban just shared a powerful live segment about his own journey, his own conversation, which we'll get more into, that he had with Steve Hardison, and using that power, the energy to actually embody who he is. You can see on the bottom who he declares who he is and who he embodies, and we're going to definitely get more into it. So prepare yourself. This is going to be fun. This is going to be authentic. This is going to be very transformational, and you're going to see the world's best courage coach on live display for us. And this, hands down, if you're listening to this, where you listen to this live, watching us live, or you're going to listen to this on a recording after this, if you listen intently and be here fully for this conversation, this will be, hands down, the best damn interview you ever watched for your life and ever experienced for your life. And you will get something out of this to change your life. That's my intention. That's our intention. And with that being said, welcome to another exciting episode of Our Daily Magic. What Our Daily Magic podcast is we have magical conversations with other magical beings who showcase who they are in the essence of their own magic for the world to see. Our intention with every powerful conversation that we have here is you, whoever is watching, whoever's listening, you get to see just how magical as fuck you are. And from these conversations, you get some tool that resonates with you to help you to cultivate more magic into your life. The world can definitely use more magic, and the world can definitely use your magic. That's what we do here. So I am one complete half of the guest or the co-host. My name is Dell.
And I'm Kai, and I have the honor of briefly introducing Laban, who his bio states, a child badly affected by divorce, poverty, and dysfunction. Laban sought validation and escapism in all the wrong places. But through self-discovery and a ton of hard work, he conquered the full gamut of addiction: alcohol, sex, gambling, drugs, and negative self-talk. More interestingly, by finding and removing the root cause of his need to escape, giving up these addictions has been almost effortless. Losing 60 pounds of body fat and replacing it with 30 pounds of muscle mass and bone density, Laban found a cure for his incurable autoimmune disease. His mental health, cognitive function, and ability to handle, recover, and thrive from extreme physical challenges all have improved exponentially. Physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally in charge of his own destiny, Laban's journey continues to inspire those ready to change their lives. Welcome, Laban.
Kai, Dell, this is my daily magic. Thank you very much for having me on today. It's a huge honor.
You're welcome. And thank you for everyone who's already live. They're ready. Shout outs to Marvin the Martian. I see you, Christian. And Marvin said that she is grateful to be here.
We're grateful to have you here as well, Marvin.
Yeah. And please share some comments, share your suggestions, share your questions that you have, and we will fill them with this. So, brother, that intro, for me, I feel like it doesn't really, it's like the tip of the iceberg, and want to allow you to go beneath the surface with this. So my question for you to start this off is, share your journey.
6.5 years ago, I found myself at a place of absolute rock bottom. And I was in my bed at home on a Tuesday night about midnight with no less than 3 bottles of appropriately priced Pinot Noir coursing its way through my veins. And I was gambling on a horse race in a country that I was not in, spending money that was not there to be spent. And in that moment of clarity, I realized that the life that I was living was not the direction that I imagined that I was going to head in as a young man. In fact, it was going the opposite. I was heading off a very, very steep cliff. And as I had that thought, I saw in the bottom left-hand corner of the laptop screen a phone number that I'd never seen before. And I'd been on that gambling website countless times before. And instinctively, I picked up my cell and I called this number. And this woman who had this velvety chocolate voice picked up, and I'll never know her last name, but her first name was Mary. And I call her my Mary Magdalene because she was my guardian angel, whether she liked it or not. And she profoundly impacted me that day. She shared with me about gamblers and the disproportionate amount of suicide that gamblers experience versus all the other addictive behaviors. And that put a bolt of terror into me. And through listening and empathy from her and a non-judgmental observation, she put me in touch with this amazing counseling service. And for 1.5 years, I got a free gambler's psychologist through the Gamblers Helpline. And in my very first session, the counselor, Lee, asked me one question about my mother, and I just exploded into tears. And over the course of those sessions, I came to learn about escapism behavior developed as a result of growing up in a less than nurturing environment, which is a fancy word for saying trauma. And my trauma was being a child of divorce, nothing more innocuous than that. It deeply affected me negatively. And in order to survive, I developed coping mechanisms. I immersed myself in video games and TV and movies, self-deprecating humor, validation seeking. And as I got older, drugs, alcohol, and gambling all filled those voids. And I'm very proud to stand before you today, both, and our audience today, to share that I'm more than 5.5 years stone cold sober, not a single drop, and longer for the drugs and the gambling and the philandering and the other negative behaviors. And I've got a responsibility now to share this message with the world, to help other people that want help, because there's a lot of people struggling right now. So I've found my purpose to become known as the world's most positively influential speaker. And the way to do that for me is to be the world's best courage coach. And so that's the question I ask myself when I get out of bed every single morning now. How would the world's best courage coach conduct himself? It's very important to acknowledge that this is not an ego statement. There's enough room for 7.5 billion world's best courage coaches, but just the way the universe distributes our responsibilities organically, we all have our own gifts and our own world's best. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity to get on and share that with your amazing audience today. And congratulations on getting married last year.
Thank you. I get how you could see how you were releasing these addictions that were plaguing your life, the ones that you can see on the outside. How did you kick the habit of the one on the inside, that negative self-talk?
Kai, I've absorbed over 500 books in the last 4.5 years. That excludes the podcasts, it excludes the articles, it excludes all the other stuff. And every single one of them is a book on how to improve my life in some way, shape, dating, food, nutrition, health, like you name it. And when you read enough times about the importance of self-talk, you start to go, maybe I should look at this. And whatever your beliefs, I don't identify as being religious in any capacity, but I've become incredibly spiritual. And they're starting to learn a lot about quantum physics and quantum mechanics and quantum healing. And for people that aren't super familiar with these statements, this is this level of unknownness that's existing in the universe and vibrational frequencies. And we've got 100 trillion cells that exist in our bodies. There just happens to be 100 trillion stars in the galaxy, right? Is that a coincidence? Maybe it is. But when you start understanding how the body, the universe, the mind, the soul, the spirit works, you'd never, ever say another bad thing about yourself. And if people spoke to other people how they speak to themselves, they wouldn't have many friends.
I was saying that more recently about that, just how the external judgment that we have for others is just a glimpse of that eternal judgment that we have within ourselves. But the question that I have for you is, when you notice that internal judgment and stuff going on, were you able to get down to the root of where it came from?
I believe so. I can never put my hand on it and say, yeah, that's 100% absolutely the truth. But I reclaimed all the power by taking ownership of what I had done. And I started to forgive the people in my life for what they did to me, which were my parents, And I spun it around. I was like, well, hang on a second. I got the gift of life out of this deal. I actually did it right. I didn't really need to do anything else but just to bring me into this world. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any of these opportunities that I have now. And as I learned the power of forgiveness for other people, I forgave myself. And that, for me, was the catalyst, the most important healing part, because within 4 weeks of getting to a point where I loved who I'd become and I loved who I was, flaws and all. I met the person in my dreams. And I honestly believe it holds so many of us back from meeting the person that we are supposed to be with, because we don't love ourselves. So if we don't love ourselves, how can anyone else love us?
Yeah. And we can potentially fall into that trap of forcing somebody else to love us because we don't love ourselves, and having so much pressure on this person to be the way to love us because we're not here to love ourselves. What's it called? Codependency. I was like, what's the word for it? Like that type of energy.
Well, Dell, I know a little bit about you, and the time we spent together was magical, and I know that you identify with a lot of these behaviors, and I'm curious to know, like, what's been your experience with dealing with this codependent behavior that we develop as kids?
That's the answer right there where I could start off as. So that part, that nature that I learned as a kid, being codependent on my parents, being codependent on the teachers to get acknowledgements, being codependent for my friends to accept me, being codependent for religion and obeying and being afraid of doing stuff wrong because I'm going to get punished for eternity as well. And that translated also to just relationships when I wasn't able to have awareness and learn more about myself and why I was doing what I was doing. I was just doing what I was doing because it was just a normal nature I had as a kid. So with women in my relationship, I was codependent on them like I would be codependent on my mother. And also the fact for me, I'm the baby of the family, so I had entitlement. I got what I wanted. When I didn't get what I wanted, I got upset. I would throw a temper tantrum until I got what I wanted. But also, it's my way or no. That I get take care of first, and then maybe you'll get a little bit of scraps. And it showed up predominantly in my relationship. I was very, very on the end of narcissistic, and I will admit that. I have been able to integrate that. And it really took for me to have a breakup with her, the first breakup we had, in which the very first time in my life ever in relationships, I asked myself, how did I show up in this relationship? And how could this other person interpret how I was showing up? And then that was I'd never asked that. I used to, oh, okay, this relationship's done. I could just go on to the next person. There's plenty of girls out there. Let me go on my Tinder swipes, get my Tinder on, find some more women and stuff like that. And it's dime a dozen type of thing. But then what I realized, like doing that, there's always this emptiness going on. It's a quick satisfaction, the quick gratification, the squirrel getting a quick nut type of thing. But then after that, it's like a deeper wound of pain that was still going on. And I thought, like, oh, I don't have to deal with it. Let me drink this away. Oh, let me go with these women. Oh, let me get these jobs, keep myself busy and all this type of stuff. And like, it's still there. For me, the best example of it, I always say, is like me having a trash bag of all my shit in it, having it wrapped up, throwing away in the closet, cleaning up everything else around there. But yet this shit in the closet is festering. It's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And that breakup that we had, that was the first time I was like, all right, I gotta take a look at myself, see what's going on with it, and really addressing it. And it took a couple of years, man. I would say, to actually get to that point of making the shifts and reintegrating to the place I am right now.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And that's what struck me to you when I heard your story and even read your book as well. I'm like, wow, we had a lot of similar stuff there. Obviously, you took on a rock star level, but like we had some similar journeys of just pain and trauma not being addressed and doing everything as possible to not deal with those things and getting that quick sensation, quick fun. And then it just took that moment of that, oh, aha.
And Kai, on the other side of that, like, what's been the impact of the way that Dell's now showing up?
it's an experience of what a healthy relationship can be. And for, anyone who has had, life experience, we have all of these different role models out there, from the ones that we see on TV and the ones that we see in the movies and the ones that we see on social media. And there is a wide spectrum of relationship types and the dynamics and how it affects each person. But what I'm really, really grateful for is to watch the evolution of something truly special, truly healthy, truly nourishing, that I could say is unconditional love.
I can feel that between you as well.
Yeah.
So well done to you, Kai.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the most important thing is doing your work and healing that relationship with yourself. Because until you heal that, all your relationships is going to trigger you until you get to that point of wanting to do it. So that's like the simple formula. Like for me, doing your healing work, continue to expand that deep place of love for yourself and grow with that. And then it just overflows for wherever you go in every relationship. But then also like just having that freedom that we have in our relationship too, in which we love each other unconditionally, but we're on this soul journey for this moment. And this is all that we have right now. What can happen, and it's happened to me before, thinking so far ahead of things, or having this belief like you're meant to be with me forever. You're gonna be with me forever, and like having that pressure, the pressure for relationship, like you got to be this way, or even the fear of like you're changing, something's changing about you. It's like we're naturally meant to change and expand. Like, it's hard to keep yourself contracted or even your partner contracted when our soul wants to expand and evolve in every moment. So just that freedom and choice, and just know that we are here in this moment. Let's enjoy this moment together because it's all that we have.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a gentleman last night. We went out to dinner, and his name's Otto Siegel. He's one of the most interesting people I've ever met in my life. He's a genius coach, but he's a longevity expert, talking about immortality. Now, that's a conversation for a whole nother podcast, right? But the universe is expanding faster than the speed of light. And you start wrapping your head around that, like it starts to hurt a little, right? And so, but it all comes back to this being absolutely present. And incidentally, the more I'm able to do that, the better my life becomes. And you touched on something really important, Dell, the work. I think the work is what most people are afraid of. But the work is where all the gold is. The work is why I'm standing here in front of you guys today. The work is why I have a book. The work is why I'm able to converse, share knowledge with some of the most extraordinary people on the planet and feel not only like I belong there, but I can add tremendous value. That's powerful. You could put me in a room with anybody, Elon Musk, Mahatma Gandhi, Oprah. You're like, I would not be nervous. Maybe Matthew McConaughey might make me a little nervous.
Really?
Because I want to nail his, all right. No, not even Maddie. But you get my point, right? I'd be more nervous coming on the podcast with you two.
Man, and the comments are flowing in. I want to, oh my goodness, let me go back up.
Hit me.
Yeah. Let's see.
That's what the blackjack dealer said. That's what I said to the blackjack dealer.
So Christian said, that was an inspiring story, Laban. And Marvin the Martian said, I'm a 36-year-old addict in recovery, have mental health and divorce. My rock bottoms evolved my soul. Now give back what was freely given to me. I'm here for a reason today. Thank you for sharing.
Marvin, my pleasure. And thank you, Christian, for your comment. Marvin, I feel like I need to share this with you, and I don't know whether this will be of value to you. The recovery programs, which I know help a lot of people, a lot of them rely on this admittance of being an addict. And I would encourage you to think about what your life would look like if you stopped reaffirming that to the universe. And that can require some further investigation. But if we go back to the power of words, if you know, my name is Laban and I'm an alcoholic, or I'm a drug addict, if I'm reaffirming that into you are someone who has had challenges with drugs or alcohol or gambling, like that does not define who you are. And if it helps in that journey, then I would love to share that with you and do with it what you like.
I like that because it's a powerful statement. It just reminds me of let's say like another journey. For example, if you're overweight and you're losing weight and you want to lose weight and get slimmer, if you keep reaffirm like I'm overweight, as opposed to like on that journey of I'm losing weight or whatever it may be. So just remind me of that same thing, or even just how sometimes from one moment we take on a belief moving forward from it. So let's say like a breakup, and I did it before. And when somebody broke up with me, I felt not enough. And I took that not enoughness into every moment after that, as opposed to accepting the fact that I wasn't enough for this person. Let it go and move forward with that.
Well, it's a great point. And here's why the self-talk observation program is so effective. And this stemmed from a conversation I had with a guy called Jack Canfield. For those who don't know Jack Canfield, he wrote Success Principles and co-wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. And he set up a swear jar at home, but not for cussing, for negative self-talk. And every time you swear, you put an amount in there that's going to hurt a little bit, whether it's $1, $5, or $50, or maybe 500 grand if you're Musk. But we've incorporated that. We've got a mastermind that's called World's Best. And it's about bringing people into an environment where they can declare that they are the world's best in their chosen niche, or niche, depending on where you're listening to this, right? And the parameters of the mastermind are this: $10 for every negative self-talk statement that goes to a predetermined charitable organization. The reason for that is it's sort of a fun way to keep yourself accountable. But what happens is when you stop talking poorly to yourself, you start noticing how everyone around you starts communicating, right? You've heard this statement plenty of times before. We become like the 5 or 6 people we spend the most time around, right? We earn within a few $1,000s of them. And if you find that your circle of influence are negative Nellies, then you got to evolve that situation very quick. And we can talk about some boundary settings a bit later on if that's of interest. Because it's hard to fly like an eagle when you're surrounded by turkeys.
Oh, man. Let me get back to these comments. There we go. So Marvin said, and I'm going to get to the present ones that Marvin left too. She said, yes, soul lives in a neutral state. I only serve my soul. Empathy. I'm with my soulmate now because I evolved. We help each other teach each other. We both are in recovery. We have healthy boundaries and respect each other. And thank you, Peter, for the 1-year anniversary. It's actually about to be 2 years in September.
Dang, really?
Yeah.
You guys just like posting memory photographs. More
That's the only
recent.
time you know. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny with the memories, like on Facebook, when looking at Facebook memories, I look at some of the statuses that I posted in different stages of my life. I'm like, damn.
Dell, you and I have way more in common I'm constantly going, why was I even thinking? I'm going to get deplatformed with that kind of stuff, right?
Oh, man. Yeah. Let's see. Christian said, very Nine of Wands, Eight of Cups, and Eight of Swords energy. That just came to me. That's tarot. That's her alley. They're both their
You'll have
alley.
to translate that for me, Kai.
Yeah, there you go. Translate it. What does that mean?
Nine of Wands is overwhelm. Eight of Cups is about running away from your emotions. And the other one?
Six of Swords energy.
Leaving the baggage of the past.
Oh. Christian said, you guys are role models, aspiration goals. Aww. Marvin Marsh say, it's love. Oh, and then Peter. Hey, Peter. Peter said, I got more than 36 years without alcohol. No problem with drugs. You mentioned Mary Magdalene. For many years, I thought of what I experienced was a dream. Yet, I explained this to the missionary of charity of Mother Teresa many years later than 1987. The mission said it was Mother Mary who actually, her image came through my bedroom and stood at the end of my bed.
That's not an accident.
Mm.
We probably got the same guardian angel.
Yeah. And then Peter asks, are you Australian?
Yeah, wow, good pickup. I am half Australian, half New Zealand. I've got a Kiwi mother and an Australian father. And I've spent approximately half of my life in both countries. And I'm now based in Mexico, but this is being broadcast from Phoenix, Arizona.
The US, baby. I'm curious now because on the Australian side, I see the stuff online of like the crazy like insects and things that go down over there. And like how you gotta check your shoe because a tarantula might be chilling in your shoe and you put your foot in there, it might bite you. So what are some of the crazy shit you encountered over there?
This is really hilarious. And I think a lot of Australians like to play this up and they talk about being attacked by drop bears. You know, if you've heard about drop bears, they're a fictional bear that doesn't actually exist. And Australia, despite all the noise about the danger of it, you know, in the 20 years that I lived there, I reckon I saw 5 snakes. Yeah, they were poisonous, but they were out in the country. One was quite scary because I was taking a whiz and I realized that I was weeing on the snake. And like,
What?
when you're already weeing and then you see a snake, the stream of wee increases because you're wetting yourself.
Damn.
But they just chill. They just chill. They don't want to fight unless you actually tiger snakes do want to do that. But no issues. And you know, in metropolitan parts of Melbourne, Victoria, down the bottom part where we lived, you know, like it's kangaroos are really buff and they can kick your ass if they want. But it's largely Hollywood hype. Australia is a wonderful, beautiful country. It's going through some challenges at the moment with regards to the way that the government is trying to force itself into the mainstream. And for those, particularly in the US, that are used to their freedoms, particularly in Florida and Texas, people would be honestly flabbergasted at what's happening there at the moment. So send all your love and abundance towards that country.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. And I still can't believe you gave a golden shower to a snake. I'm just still thinking.
I don't think that combination of words has ever come out of anyone's mouth before.
Yeah. That's like one of those things. Like for your introduction, when you get introduced to your speaking, and he has even given a golden shower to a snake.
Sorry about that, Mr. Snake.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
How did you lose 60 pounds of body fat?
Oh yeah.
So
This is good.
I want the next section I want people to listen with an incredibly open mind, right? Because that's how I live my life now. The fact that I'm probably not right about everything.
Yeah.
I know I'm not. So I'll give you some context. Out of necessity, that autoimmune disease that I had to cut out refined carbohydrates, bread and pasta and pastries, for the gluten component. I'm not celiac. I was non-celiac, gluten intolerant, right? And the doctor said it was incurable. And that's why they wanted to keep me on medication for 17 years. And I fixed that by eliminating that out of my diet, by seeing an interview on Joe Rogan podcast with Dr. Chris Kresser, who's a functional medicine doctor. I talk about this in the book, and then there's links to the stuff as well if people are keen. I continue to watch Joe Rogan's podcast, and I watched a Dr. Sean Baker, who was in his 50s, who was an orthopedic surgeon who looked like a hulk of a man, who was existing only eating animal protein, steaks and eggs and fish and chicken and that kind of thing. And he was a world record holder for like the indoor rowing, a Concept 2 rowing machine and power lifter. But more importantly, he'd use that way of eating to heal his autoimmune issue. And as it turns out, despite what we've been told, animal protein is very, very good for us. It contains all the 9 amino acids that are essential. And it's not saying about this is what everyone must eat, but my approach to life is that I want to know the truth so I can make an informed decision. And what happens is for 3 years, 97, 98% of my diet was strictly animal protein. So I had no fiber and no fruit really. And when you're eating a very low carb diet like that or lifestyle, your body burns fat as fuel the majority of the time. You don't retain fluid because you're not consuming excessive carbohydrates. And so it allows your gut to liquefy very quickly and process without much stress on the digestive system. And our stomachs are about the same acidity, pH level as a hyena, which I think a lot of people will find interesting. We are omnivores by design, but we really honestly thrive and have done for millennia on animal protein. So get plenty of good red meat in your diet. It's really important. The beautiful byproduct of that was that I healed my gut. Your gut is where 90% of the dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin is generated, 90%. And it's no wonder that my mental health went through the roof. And then I inexplicably started running ultra marathons out of the blue. And I went from running 3 miles to 26 miles in 2 weeks, and then 26 to 30 miles in another month, and then that to 60 miles in another 8 weeks. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that my body was thriving and I was getting really great REM sleep, really important restorative sleep. So my body bounced back really quickly. And you do that by having a very low inflammatory lifestyle, by cutting out a lot of the refined crap and the seed oils and all the other stuff that exists in modern diets. And I'm not telling anyone here what they should eat, but anyone that's suffering from any autoimmune, there is not just me, but countless anecdotal and some hardcore data coming out now suggesting this is a super duper effective way of getting back in track without medication in many cases, your autoimmune health, which is prolific in society.
Thank you. Now I get it.
And something else that's quite interesting as well, Kai, that I'm yet to meet anyone that can physically explain exactly what happened. And I've interviewed Nobel Prize laureates on the podcast that are gastroenterologists and some of the smartest people ever, and no one's able to give me an answer. I was able to put on 0.5 kilo of skeletal bone density, which for those who understand biology, human biology, it's virtually unheard of. And what I think happened was the medication that I was on does 3 major negative things that we know of. It inhibits B12, which is in red meat, iron, and calcium. And when you deplete the body of its ability to have calcium, and I'm not talking about supplementation, I'm talking about getting it through natural food sources, which is always the best. I believe that my body was leaching calcium out of my skeletal system for all those years. And when I got healthy, it replenished and rejuvenated. And I even had a small filling that regenerated in my mouth as well. Like it didn't have any filling in it. It was just a natural small hole. When I got it checked, like a year later, and it was healed. So this sounds pretty crazy, right? But this is legit happening, not just with me, but lots of people.
It's not as crazy in an open-minded space like in this conversation. And there's a lot of people out there who talk about that, like a Joe Dispenza out there and stuff like that, of being able to heal your body. And for him, he was able to heal his back from being paralyzed and was told he'd never walk again, to actually be able to walk and the stuff that he's able to do. So I truly believe in, and also the studies that they do when they give somebody medicine and they get other people the placebo, the sugar pill, and then the people who take the sugar pill, how they also are getting results because they believe it and have the intent for it. So I believe, like, just with you doing what you did, and also your beliefs and your intention behind it, and your surefire will that you have, you're able to like make some major shifts within you, because like you're making major shifts within you already.
Well, it's so interesting you bring up Joe Dispenza. Literally last night, my very good friend and business partner, Evans Putman, we're talking about Joe Dispenza. And here's my take on my Joe Dispenza moment. For those who don't know about Joe Dispenza, he had a horrendous accident, ended up, and he's a surgeon, I believe, right? A doctor. And he was ruined. And he was going to be operated on, but it was like 99% chance it was going to like cripple him forever or something along those lines. And he just healed himself with the power of his mind. So what I believe happened in getting myself healing the mind, body, spirit, I believe I put myself in the state that Joe Dispenza talks about inadvertently. And knowing or psychologically thinking that I was taking in the right nutrition and you know, looking after myself and not drinking and partying and stuff. I think that's what puts that body in a state of healing. So it's very, very exciting, and it's so great that you bring that up as well. So I appreciate you doing that, Dell.
Yeah, no problem. And we have a bunch of more comments. They are loving you. Let's see. Oh, amazing, Peter. Peter just said he just added Bet on You to his Amazon shopping list.
My brother, thank you very much for the support. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
And if you like my dulcet tones, you can get it on Audible now as well.
And Natalie, that was Marvin and Martian, but she said her name now, Natalie. She said that my spiritual journey has helped my recovery process with learning my fragments and making peace with all of me and my soul.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, is there anything else here? So Natalie said also, I'm not gonna lie to you and say, because you were saying no carbs, the portion you said, no carbs scares her. So it's definitely something she has to work on.
Well, it's like recovery. It's like reaching out for help. Like, you must understand the pain that I was in. The pain of recovery was far more appealing than the pain of existing in my former state. And I've always been a man of extremes. And I realize some of the stuff that I'm sharing today is probably new to some people. And it took me time to get used to it as well. So you got to start in incremental steps if you know that's how you best operate. This is not a dietary intervention for 30-day challenge. This is an adjustment in your life. If you could feel how good I feel day to day, cognitive, memory, physical prowess, libido, sexual function, all the really crucial, amazing parts of what make life wonderful, you do it in a heartbeat. But in the book, there's some resources at the end. If you get the Kindle, you can click. There's all the resources that will give you all the knowledge. People that are far smarter than I that have put all this into books. We have all the research, have all the other information that'll help you conquer any of this stuff.
Yeah. And also I recommend, if you would like to hear him navigate it and his energy and also expression, the Audible book. Oh my God. Highly recommend it. So just in case you guys didn't know, you can get it on Amazon, and also his book's available on Audible. And
Just added it to my library.
yeah,
Thanks, Kai.
yeah.
Buckle up.
Yeah, yeah. This is only the tip of the iceberg. In this book.
Well, I'm still waiting for my mum to finish listening to it as well. So that's
I love the portions you had in it, like when you're talking about some experiences that you had with some of your women, and it was the one when you said at the end of it, if you, this is probably your, like pretty much our first time hearing this. If you're reading this book and you hear this, I apologize. Forgive me.
And then I put the link to the Dr. Robert Luskin, Fred Luskin, who's the forgiveness, set up the forgiveness project at Stanford. His book's called Forgive for Good. And it's about, Auschwitz survivors forgiving the camp commander, and children, mothers whose children were murdered, forgiving the perpetrator. And so hopefully she reads that and she can forgive me as well.
Yeah. That's the interesting thing with our journey of getting to this point. And that's my belief that I have of just how everything's synchronistic, and everything that we do, every interaction, every relationship that we have, it's like a soul level agreement that we had for an experience. So that way we both can get the lessons we need to evolve ourselves and get us to the point of our expansion. The question is, are you willing to get to that place of it? Because it's so easy to have experiences and be stuck in a victimization about things, as opposed to taking ownership about it, taking your power back.
Yeah, the victim component of it's really super important to me. And I mentioned boundaries earlier. I find it really physically impossible to be around victim mindsets for any period of time, including family. And I try really hard not to be judgmental, and I'm getting better and better and better at it. But it's when you go from being a victim to reclaiming your power, and you see how powerful it is, and you see how much wasted life force and energy there is in being a victim, it's like you just want to slap them. And people love that feeling of being in a victim mindset. And my question for anyone that's experiencing whatever happened to you, how's that working out for you? If I can share something really personal with you guys, and I have her permission to share this with you, and maybe she'd make a great guest in the future. This is my Anna, my darling fiancée. We've been together for 3.5 years. And her and I have experienced the loss of 15 consecutive miscarriages, including 2 ectopics, one of which nearly killed her in 2019. And that stemmed from a botched, forced abortion that she experienced growing up in Russia after being sexually assaulted by her stepfather from 15 to 21. And I don't say that for pity. And when you meet Anna, you would not see someone who has experienced that, because she's reclaimed her power. She has forgiven this perpetrator. She's forgiven her mother for not protecting her. And she, after a couple of years of healing and getting help, she's now had the courage in 2021 to contact her mother and tell her what had happened. And the stepfather and the mother had been divorced for many years. And the mother beautifully accepted this information, went batshit, mama bear Russian crazy on this mofo. We got the police involved, and this guy fled countries. He went to Belarus. And Anna's story is so powerful, because if she can forgive this guy, like, what am I doing getting angry at my dad or my mom or my brother or my sister or my auntie or that guy that cut me off in the car, Put that into perspective.
And allow the space to allow that to permeate right there. And that's a powerful, powerful message as well. Just how infinite and deep forgiveness can go. and the results of what happens after you are able to forgive.
The forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for us. It's to release the tether of tyranny that we have to that person. You think about a grudge that you hold, how much mental energy and space you give that person thinking about all the different scenarios of what should happen. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's perfect, but forgive them. Forgive them. And free up that space to focus on what's important in life. Do you know, I have an older brother, a half brother. I got a younger full-blooded brother. I got two younger half sisters from a different mother. And the oldest brother and the youngest half sister and an auntie on my dad's side, I hadn't spoken to for 3 years, 18 months and 3 years, respectively. And the book launch was coming up late in 2021. And I was like, this is a significant moment in our family. And I don't know if I could forgive myself if I hadn't given them the opportunity to be involved with this. There's not any academic success in the family of any significance at all. And no one's certainly written a book. And so I sent 3 forgiveness messages, apology messages, saying, I'm sorry for anything that I said that caused the disruption in our relationship. Life's too short. Got this amazing experience coming up. I'd love for you to be involved if you wanted to do that. And I got 3 responses. None of them apologized back. And Anna, my darling Anna, because I got angry. I was like, why wouldn't you apologize back? I said sorry. And she was like, you sent that conditionally. And I was like, damn. So I had to send another message saying, I'm sorry, I sent the first one conditionally. You don't need to reply or anything. I just wanted to set this free, blah, blah, blah. And then I let it go. And my oldest brother said, I'm sorry. Like, and the other 2 didn't. But I hadn't even hardly thought about it in that time. And my sister turned up. My older brother didn't. My auntie didn't. And I'm down with that. I'm cool with that now. And I said we don't need to be besties. We don't need to speak to each other ever again. But there's no more energy being expended by wasting like my life worrying about a conversation that hurt my feelings 3 years ago. They're on their own journey. They're exactly where they're supposed to be right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And congratulations for learning your lesson.
It was a harsh one, but thanks.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
But it provides a great opportunity to share the story, you know, like, and if it helps one other person, was it worth it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you've just helped a whole bunch of other people by telling the story.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing. So Peter said, sometimes gut-wrenching honesty is the only way. It helps getting through one's difficulties to become a positive learning experience.
Well, I couldn't agree anymore. And people will be very happy to hear this next section. When Anna went back to Russia, because she had to lay criminal charges in person. And when we talk about, you know, the challenges of what Australia's going through now, Australian government rejected Anna's first application to leave the country to go back to Russia to provide this witness statement. You can imagine what kind of response I had hearing that news, but we eventually got her out. She did all the things with the police that there's not enough evidence for it to go to trial. They do things a bit different there in Russia. But what she did do, she was interviewed by a magazine in her part of Russia where she's from and shared her story in a similar way, and it went bananas. And tens of thousands of people were impacted by this article, and men and women from all around Russia were reaching out to Anna and sharing some of their own experiences and thanking her, because if you can imagine a Russian male stereotypically doesn't share their feelings very well. And the women are bound by that in many ways by themselves because of the not showing weakness or that stiff upper lip. The British do it as well. And Anna was able to reconnect with her biological father, who left when she was 4. And she reached out to him as a friend. She said, I'm contacting you as a friend, not as a daughter. And I just wanted to say, I forgive you. I forgive you for leaving me when I was 4 and not protecting me. And you can imagine the staunch Russian military guys just stayed stony silent for a minute. And he told Anna that he loved her for the first time in her life. She heard that statement, I love you, daughter. You think about what kind of impact that's had on not only Anna's life, but that guy's life. All the guilt he probably had for leaving that family. He was a young man when it happened. That's some revolution right there, yo.
Yeah. Being able to have that type of conversation like that, like you said, the changing for both sides and being able to let go of it, especially for people who may have done something. I mean, we all have done stuff that we may feel guilty of what we've done, and being able to get that forgiveness for yourself and also to give it to others.
Very good point. And one important distinction that I need to make is that it's the forgiveness does not absolve the person of what they've done. There is consequences.
Oh yeah.
And that's a really important distinction. You can still forgive someone and put some motherfucker behind bars for life, yo. But it lets you go. And I want to lift the energy a little bit, because when you take people deep down with sharing that kind of story, if you're not in the right space to hear that kind of heavy, I want to bring people up a little bit. And I just want to share with people, I don't feel like I miss out on anything anymore. I'm having way more fun. And I'm not saying this to make people feel good or blow smoke up their backside, right? I'm better, having way more fun, having way more present, real, authentic conversations with people, and getting way more high on life than I ever was on any drug or any alcohol or any escapism behavior. And I think it's important for people to know that on the other side of whatever you're grappling with addiction-wise, life is there to be lived. My life is a daily miracle, a daily miracle. And I work hard on that. Now I'm reaping the rewards, and my life is still not without challenges. Absolutely. But that's the stuff that keeps us sharp,
Amen. And,
Amen.
and for our audience out there, I want you to just visualize Laban as a man who just ran the 4-minute mile. And the cool thing about that is it's an amazing feat. You get to see what's on display, his results of being able to do the inner training that he did to do this 4-minute mile in his own life, of this place that he at, we just mentioned, at this space that he never been before, and continues to create miracles daily. And for each and every one of you who are listening and watching this, it's also possible for each and every one of us to create our own 4-minute mile. It's the question that pops to my mind is, are you willing to do the inner training needed to actually be able to do it? But it's totally possible as well.
Amen.
Laban, if you had one thing that you would like or someone to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
Ask for help. And ask for help so that you can remain strong, not so that you appear weak. And keep asking for help until you get it. Les Brown. I ain't claiming that. But I'm claiming.
I'm like, how'd you come up with that?
I mean, he might have grabbed it from somewhere else, but it doesn't matter. It's the meaning behind it. Ask for help. Ask for help. Fuck your ego. What people think of us is none of our business. None of our business. What people think of. Yeah, people give us shit, and yeah, we bite. Yes, we like to be liked, but fundamentally, are they going to pay our bills? Are they going to come to our rescue? Oh, they fuck. Ask for help. Keep asking until you get it. Yo.
Mic drop. Yeah, that's powerful. And wow, this was the best interview that we ever done.
I was under a lot of pressure, wasn't I?
Listen, like pressure makes diamonds, and this one was definitely a diamond episode.
Well, I want to say something else before we wrap this up, which I think is the most important part of all this. If you have not subscribed to this podcast, if you haven't reviewed this and you love or loathe the content, or if you're just somewhere in the middle, leave it a review. Share it with someone you really care about. What's the impact on someone learning a skill or a technique that takes 20 years off their healing experience? What dollar amount can you put on that? It's priceless. And you did that. You created that by taking bold, massive, and strategically courageous action. What are you the best in the world at? What are you going to wake up in the morning and say, how would the world's best, insert niche, coach do here? How are you going to show up? What's your life going to look like in a year from now if you keep doing the same thing? Bet on you. You're an unrepeatable miracle. Bet on you. You are unique. Bet on you. Most people die at age 25 and don't get buried until they're 65. Bet on you because you're a winner. You are a winner.
Another mic drop. Wow. Thank you, brother, for another powerful, amazing conversation. And I'm not the same as I was when we first began this. And I'm sure whoever is watching this and our audience that watched this live, we appreciate you. I'm pretty sure you're not the same as well.
No way.
Yeah. Let's think about it. What is one thing from this conversation that you're going to take for your own self? Leave the comments in there. This will be on replay. We'll check it out. And this will be available on our YouTube stream. This will be available in audio on iTunes and Spotify. And if this episode touched you, like Laban mentioned, leave a review. Share the podcast with somebody you know that could benefit from any of the episodes, even this episode when it's available. Who's one person that you can impact this with? Because this is very impactful.
I second that motion.
So before we officially wrap it up. Laban, where can people find you?
The blessing of Laban Ditchburn is I think I'm the only one on the planet. And if you punch Laban Ditchburn into any search engine anywhere on the planet, it'll do a pop-up bonanza of anything. But really the best way to find all the stuff, all the links to the social media, whatever your favorite platform will be, links to the book and that kind of thing is on the website, labanditchburn.com, LABANDITCHBURN, like dig a ditch and burn.
I'll just put it up there so people have it.
And I love hearing from people who are impacted in any which way, good, bad, or ugly, about whatever I've shared today. I live a life where I am always open to growth and to being shown other ideas about what my truth is. And Steve Artisan mentioned in this event on the weekend, there can be more than one truth. There can be 3 truths. There can be 4 truths.
And that would be a great foundation for the world if we can actually get to that acceptance, and we can definitely move things around instead of thinking my truth is better than your truth is wrong, and not allowing a space for the infinite truth, which is all of our truths together.
I just want to share something really quick if we've got time.
Yeah.
This just came to me. There was a conversation I had this morning. Charles Darwin, known for being the father of evolution, apparently stole the ideas and got it wrong. And it's not about survival of the fittest. It was always about collaboration, survival of the best collaborators. We work as human beings when we collaborate, when we are together. Think about the collective energy of what's being created today. Could I do this by myself? Could you do that by yourself, Dell? Kai? Like, it doesn't have the same impact, right? Survival of the collaborators. Let's collaborate this motherfucker. Collaborate, then never. I just thought of that.
Turn it into a t-shirt, quick.
Yeah. It's like the Happy Gilmore, or not Happy Gilmore, Forrest Gump with a smiley face.
So thank you again for having me. It was a real thrill and a real honor, and lovely to get to learn more about you too. You're doing God's work. So thank you.
Thank you. Received, and likewise. So, don't want to go, but we're going to close this up. And for our audience and everyone else, you know what to do after this. Continue to stay
magical.